Welcome to It's UATL, your unscripted weekly dose of Black culture straight from the heart of Atlanta. I'm Nedra Roan, and I'm here with Naja Parker and Deasia Page. And we're starting off a new segment that we like to call Ask Atlanta. This is where we ask folks around the city a hot take question. And today's question is Atlanta still America's Black Mecca? In a bit, we're going to hear real Atlanta voices. But first, to help us out, we have our UATL editor, Gavin Godfrey. Hey, Gavin.
Hi,
What's up, y'all? What's up?
So, Gavin, you've been writing a series called Atlanta, America's Black Mecca. Tell us just a little bit about what made you start writing that series.
As y'all know, whenever you talk to people about Atlanta, they always use this phrase, oh, it's a Black Mecca, it's a Black Mecca. It's this big, shiny Oz on the hill that every Black person needs to gravitate to. And for me, I just got tired of hearing it. You know what I mean? Because somebody who's born and raised here, who's seen all the highs and lows of the city, I felt like we were skipping over the lows, really. And that we were always just talking about what's great in Atlanta. And I feel like as journalists, as locals, you should be able to also question your city.
Well, where are we now, though, Gavin? Like, what, you know?
I mean,
where's the pulse? What's the pulse check on Atlanta?
That's a great question. It kind of goes back to how do you even measure what it is, right? And I think
what are the requisites of a Mecca?
Yeah, and you've reported on this in a brilliant column. I should shout out about Black Mecca being more of a work in progress than a promised land.
That's it.
Because I think some people measure it by housing opportunities, economic opportunity, education, that kind of thing. And for me, I feel like we do, of course, a great job of selling and marketing Atlanta to the rest of the world as this great Black city, but you can't spell inequality without ATL. So we continue to be a leader in income inequality in the country. Another thing that really struck out was just the gap between white and Black homeownership. I think the key to wealth building and having a good life, they tell especially Black folks, is owning something. We haven't seen much improvement on those fronts. So it's worth really being honest that these things are kind of holding us back from maintaining this title.
Yeah.
For me, I will say, whenever I travel somewhere else and I come back home, there's this blanket of comfort that hits me because I look around and everybody around me is Black. And I'm like, okay, whew, I was feeling anxious. I didn't know I was anxious until I got home. You know what I mean? And I think that's something I've heard from people who don't necessarily call this home or didn't necessarily grow up here, right? But they feel that same thing I felt, and I don't know how to really quantify that.
Yeah, but Gavin, for your piece, you went downtown to ask people if they think Atlanta is still the Black Mecca. What did that look like? Take us through that scene. When was this? And it was just mainly downtown, right?
Yeah, in the heat, bro. It was heat index of 103.
Oh, my goodness.
Video intern almost fell out. Had to get her some water.
Oh, no. Well, thankfully, you captured some audio, and we're going to hear some of these answers that you got.
In some ways, yes, it is definitely the Black Mecca. You have all of your African Americans here trying to make their dreams come true.
I feel like because of reality TV shows like Real Housewives and, just different things on film, it appears to be that way. But around the Midtown area, people are being pretty much priced out of their neighborhood. So I guess if you're rich and famous, then yes, it's the Black Mecca. But for the average Black person, I don't think so.
When you live in Atlanta, you'll meet a lot of people that's not from Atlanta, and that's why they tell you that they moved down here, that it's the Black Mecca, and people excel down here and all that stuff. But I think it's just like any other big city. However, I think Black people have more opportunities down here because your hiring manager is probably Black. But if you price Black people out, then there won't be no, you know what I'm saying, it won't be no Black Mecca.
Atlanta is very diverse. We have a very strong Black community here, especially GSU. We have the largest international student base, so also seeing other people with the same struggles as you.
It most definitely lives up to that title. It always has been a Black city. We have Black mayors, Black sheriffs. You can come here and you can make something out of yourself. You can go somewhere in Atlanta.
What do y'all think about some of those things they had to say?
I like that you included the two GSU students because I think when I think about a Black Mecca now in Atlanta, I do think about the growing trend of the Black immigrant population in the city. And now that's what I think about because GSU has that. If you go out to Rocksteady or any of these other functions, there are a lot of soca, reggae, Afro beats, Afro pop. So I like that you had included them in your story too, because I think they're very much so a part of this newer definition of a Black Mecca in Atlanta.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Nedra?
I couldn't stop thinking about the woman who referenced reality TV.
Yes.
That was another one.
Because, in my mind, I'm like, intellectually, who would ever think that a city is impacted by what is on television? But then I think also about, she was talking about reality TV. So in your mind, you think that is real. There are things that have been pure fiction that have impacted people's decision to move to cities. I met, when I lived in New York, people who had moved there because they like Sex in the City. Right. And I was like, you're not going to live like that.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? That's not going to be your life.
It up.
Right. People move to California because of girlfriends. Yeah. Okay, wait, that's
not enough of a reason.
You're not going to live that life. So I, at first I was like, oh, come on. But then I was like, oh, maybe there is something there. Like maybe, there is an impact from television. Well, when you were talking before about how we define a Mecca and that it's subject to interpretation depending on who you are, where you come from, how old you are, whatever, did you have a certain set of criteria for yourself when you were writing some of these stories?
For me, what I wanted to see was like, we know all the obvious stuff, entertainment, culture, civil rights movement, all these things that we like to tout, but I also wanted to hear and find out, are we making progress anywhere, right? Like the mayor's office of LGBTQ affairs, are they making really great progress to make our city a haven or Mecca, so to speak, for the LGBTQ community? Is the Office of Cultural Affairs still working to help artists, Black musicians? It's crazy that we don't necessarily have a lot of infrastructure for a music industry, right? Like we always talk about Atlanta for music, but like the only label we kind of nod back to is LaFace, and they aren't here anymore, right? So, and another piece of literature that inspired this series was The Evidence of Things Not Seen by James Baldwin. It's an essay he wrote. He was sent here in 1985, or published in 85, but he was asked by Playboy, funny enough, to come here and document the Atlanta child murders. And what he found was a city doing exactly what we're talking about now, like really boosting itself up. Like, we got Black man, we got Maynard Jackson, we got all this Black representation. Like, and he was saying, what these child murders is showing you that doesn't really mean anything. Black kids are in danger. These families are living in fear. He made the great point that was like, I live in Atlanta. Atlanta ain't Georgia. And he really fought up against that. He goes, you don't hear people in New York City. I mean, you do, but you don't hear them being like, I live in New York City. I don't have New York problems. Like, you are still going to feel the effects of your state, no matter what city you're in. I do get a lot of people saying, why are you even trying to bring down a good Black thing?
Oh, that's how they see it? Like you're trying to bring it down?
I've gotten that comment before. I'm sure you probably did when you wrote your column.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's a huge thing because it immediately shuts down the conversation, and I felt like over and over I was having to say, I can be grateful for all the things that a place has offered me. I can like being here, but I can still be critical of the things that aren't working. Yep. One doesn't have to happen without the other.
They can coexist.
They can,
right.
And we can talk about it. Like, you don't just have to be like, nope.
I'm
Black people are doing
that.
great and this is amazing and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
We're not talking about that other stuff. But there was always that constant, like, why do you keep bringing this up? You just negative.
Yeah.
Well, Gavin, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, it's a pleasure to rock with y'all anytime. Let's do it again.
We're going to keep asking questions of Atlanta.
Let's do it.
Maybe they'll reach out to us even, But it's great to have you here on the show and have your voice. So
thank y'all.
Let's get on to our main segment. Well, we have a really special guest today. Her name is Kiandria Demone. You may not know that name. If you guys remember, not too long ago, there was a viral video of a woman in a playground, and she had called a 5-year-old autistic child the N-word. Here's a clip from that video.
He took my son's stuff. So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old the N-word? If that's what he's going to act
That's what you're going to call him.
That's what he's going to act like.
And that was the woman who was being recorded and being asked if she had actually said what she said. And she was very proudly like, yes, I did. And not only did she say, yes, I did, but she did it again on the video several times to the individual who was recording her. Did you all see that? Do you remember?
I saw it because of your column.
Yes, same here. Which, by the way, is called Real Life with Nedra Roan. Everyone go check it out.
Check it out.
For anyone interested in reading the piece, it's titled, Why is this slur worth $750,000 and counting? And it was like, not only like, yeah, I said it, but it's like, what are you going to do about it? That was her whole
That was the energy.
It's like very unapologetic.
It was. Yeah. So she later said that it was because this child was going through her child's diaper bag. And people actually tried to use that as a justification for her having this reaction. But I was like, that's crazy.
It's a 5-year-old doing
what 5-year-olds do.
Right.
Well, so one of the things that I did in that column when I was writing it is I tried to be very cognizant of how I was talking about this person. And you'll notice that I am not using her name. I did that on purpose because I feel like when you choose to call someone out of their name, you don't deserve to have your name, honored or to be addressed by your name. So that was very intentional on my part. What ended up happening, of course, and this is the part that really is crazy about this story, she left that moment after this video went viral. She went to Give, Send, Go, which is one of these crowdfunding websites. And she said, I need protection. My family needs protection. We're being terrorized by all the people who saw this video. So almost immediately, people started donating. And before you know it, she has more than $700,000 in this account.
Yeah, and I checked the page recently, and they're still donating.
Shocking.
And I have seen videos countless times of people using racial slurs, but the step she took afterwards was something new for me. You're raising money to be protected after you offended somebody. Mm-hmm. I wish I was less shocked.
Right. So the platform itself is known for its controversial campaigns. This is a place where people know to go, where they're going to, in essence, be rewarded for this bad behavior.
They're amongst a particular community.
Yes.
Right.
So at the time of our interview, the woman in the video who used this slur that we all know had not faced any real consequences for her actions. But as of last week, she is facing 3 counts of misdemeanor disorderly conduct charges that were brought by the Rochester City Attorney's Office.
Amen.
Yes, God.
Amen. God answers prayers.
Come on now.
I don't pray, but
He answers somebody's prayer.
Yeah, not mine. If I do that, but yeah.
Well, Kiandria saw this video. And she was like, this cannot continue. We must do something about this. Her whole point was to try to hold the processors of these payments accountable for something, okay? And this is not new territory for her. She is the founder of Taste Marketing and Digital Media, which I understand is one of the first social media marketing agencies in the Southeast. So this is her wheelhouse. She knows what she's doing here. So
kudos to her.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah, it's a Black woman doing this. So she was really trying to make sure that this payout did not happen. So one of the things that we wanted to hear from her is how she continues to fight this type of thing online and what she did about it. So welcome, Kiandria.
Thank you for having me.
How did you first learn about what was going on and why did you decide that you wanted to engage with that specifically?
Well, it came to my attention because of that, because people know me for holding racist people accountable online. I go toe-to-toe essentially with people who are boldly standing in their racism, and usually they cower. I have a really unique kind of activism. I'm not out in the streets as much. What I'm known for doing is kind of cyberbullying people off the internet. If you're bold enough to be racist, then you should be bold enough to stand on it. And, I was known for exposing people for their racism, and my audience is relentless. They will drag them. It's a very unique brand, but it is effective, and we hold a lot of people accountable. So when it happened, people were sending me links to the video, and they're like, oh, Kiandria, get her. Oh, Kiandria, get her. Oh, this is going to be good. Let's get the popcorn.
I was just wondering, do you remember what you were doing when all the links started coming your way?
Yeah.
Was it lunchtime? Were you
I was
out and
at
about?
home. I was at home. I'm always at home. I'm like a hermit. I was at home, and I want to say it was late at night when people started sending it to me. And I was just checking my DMs, and I was seeing a lot of tags about it. And I just originally, honestly, when I first saw it, I stopped engaging on social media because I was just floored. I was just disgusted and disappointed and sad. So I didn't even respond to it initially. And one thing I do with my activism and with my social media platform is I merge being a troll with activism. I'm using a troll, like being a troll for good. Like I'm using that superpower for good. I'm one of the biggest trolls. My son calls me a professional rage baiter.
We'll have to ask him, can we borrow that?
I wanted to ask you about how you felt hearing about this and having a son, a son that could have been in that situation.
I think that's why it hit home for me. I know that's why it hit home for me. And that's one of the reasons I was floored and disgusted is it makes me emotional to think about the fact that I have a little, well, he's not so little anymore, but I have a Black boy. I have a Black son. And the fact that he has to share a space, a earth, a planet, a society with people like that is disgusting.
This whole page, when I came across it, I felt a lot of shock. I'm like, wow, almost $1 million for using a racial slur. That's insane to me. Mm-hmm. And people are still donating to this page. Mm-hmm. What do you think this says about the state of our country right now?
I think it says not just how hateful people can be and how many there are. There are a lot of racist people. But one of the things that I don't see a lot of people talking about is the fact that they had that disposable income. That shows you the income and wealth gap in this country and who it is tied to. Because why did y'all have $1 million just to give her? Look on there, you'll see people donating $10,000, $5,000. I don't personally know a lot of people in marginalized communities that would have been offended by that, who would have even had that sort of money to donate. They didn't, but they have that head start. And I pointed that out on my social media as well. A lot of those people, because they turned it into a back and forth, not just racist people, but I think social media, it got very competitive. Like there's a GoFundMe for the child who she assaulted. And people were like, oh, well, we've got 700,000 on y'all our side. Y'all only have 300K. And I'm like, I would like to point out that y'all had that income directly because you held people as slaves. Your ancestors stole a lot of those assets and passed them down to you. And that's why you had $5,000 to sit on. So that's not the flex that you think it is.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I never heard of Give, Send, Go before, but her page is still up. So, I mean,
it's not surprising.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
It's not surprising to me because, for one, just seeing the entire thing unfold, those people, when I say those people, I mean the racists, the white supremacists, they were treating that like Alabama football. It was almost like they had a vendetta, and they were using that, like, we're going to show them and, we're going to, like, they were just using it to show us how powerful they were and how far they were willing to go to uphold their beliefs. And the reason it's not surprising is because when it comes to hate knows no bounds. There is no limit to how far they will go to be hateful.
What bothered me about that was them using the cloak of this is all about getting rid of cancel culture. And I was like, that's Please. Clearly not it, What did you have feelings about people saying that?
I didn't sit with that very long. I really didn't care because some people need to be canceled. First of all, I'm a fan of cancel culture because sometimes it is necessary. I truly believe not everybody needs access to a platform. Not everybody that's what's wrong with social media. In my opinion, it gives everybody this unchecked access to millions, and that is dangerous. We've seen how dangerous that is in our society. But when they were saying, like, this is about ending cancel culture, I thought it was BS. I really did. I thought it was BS and it was an excuse because it wasn't about canceling her. I never even, who is she for us to cancel
exactly.
her?
What are we canceling her from?
We have to know you to cancel you. That was just an excuse. That's all it is them trying to skirt accountability, whatever excuse they use.
Right, because cancel culture initially started as like a joke that people were using on Twitter, like on Black Twitter. And it's like, to your point about it being BS, it's like if someone is able to raise nearly $1 million for saying a racial slur, were you really even at risk of being canceled in the first place?
No.
Absolutely not. So it's like, it's so stupid to me, the idea of cancel. And those who get to use it are the ones who won't be canceled. Like the ones who are canceled are the most marginalized in society. It's not a white woman who gets to go around making almost $1 million for saying a racial slur.
That you reminded me of an excellent point that's kind of a conversation on social media right now is the way they are hijacking these terms to use them for their benefit. And I think that we have to be intentional in recognizing that. The way you just pointed out the origin of where cancel culture comes from, I think it's important for people to know when they're hijacking these terms to be manipulative. They've done the same thing with the term woke. Like, since when did woke become a bad
Black
thing?
fatigue.
Black fatigue. That was the worst.
So when you saw she was making all this money on a fundraising platform online, what steps did you take to fight that?
Well, I sat with it for a while and I saw a lot of people, they were taking action. People were calling for a boycott of the platform Give, Send, Go, which that's not a platform that we use primarily. We're not their audience anyway, so boycotting them didn't even make any sense. They were not going to do anything about it. Now, this is the same platform. This is not the first time. This is the same platform that hosted the fundraiser for Kyle Rittenhouse. And George Zimmerman was also one of the first to use their platform. So they have a pattern. When I saw them doubling down, I didn't feel defeated, but I knew that wasn't going to be effective. So I started just I was really in a rabbit hole at like 3 a.m. and I was just up. And I started going through their website just to try and find things that, maybe we could report them on, right? Because people are like, this site needs to be shut down. This site needs to be shut down. I'm a former web developer and I know a lot about compliance. I own a business myself, so I know there are certain things about your website that if you are not compliant, they will make you take that website down. Legally, you cannot accept payments in the U.S. unless you are federally compliant in certain ways. So I started looking through their website just to find, just red flags. I'm just grasping at straws, really. And then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? They're just going to fix it. A company that big, they probably would fix that overnight. And that wasn't going to be effective. So I started thinking, like, who do I want to target here? I don't want to target her, obviously. It's not a back and forth between me and her because there's just going to be another Shiloh. And the company...
Oh, you said her name, Kiandria.
I can't say her name.
I mean, you can, but I thought we agreed that we were not going to do that.
Oh, no.
Remember, we had an agreement that she was always going to be that woman.
You know what?
We talked about it.
Thank you for correcting me on that.
Girl over there.
That thing. I appreciate that.
Okay, so we don't need to talk about her any further. Let's just get back to you. You were saying how you pivoted from people suggesting that you go after the platform to saying, no, we need to go after the people who are processing these payments. How did that come together for you?
Honestly, when I thought about it, and I was like, somebody's processing this money. There is a bank somewhere. And a bank cannot just do what they want to do. They have laws. They have regulations. So it might sound weird, but one of the things I thought of, if you've ever seen the movie Rush Hour 2, there's a line that Chris Tucker has in that movie. And he has this theory that he says, follow the rich white man. And he says every time there's any sort of scandal, every time there's a scheme or something going on, there's always a rich white man at the top waiting for his cut. Because that's true for our society overall, in my opinion. And from what I've seen, evidence has shown us that. So I started thinking about there's somebody at the top with their hand in this pot, and that's who I wanted to find. So I go to the checkout page, right? That's where we're processing the funds. So I go to the checkout page and I can't see who the payment processor is, which actually, to be compliant, that should be listed there. But that's neither here nor there. But I couldn't find who their payment processor was. And so I thought about it from being a web developer. I knew that if they're not a bank themselves, there has to be a third party here somewhere. And a third party on a website is just a plugin. It's like an add-on, like an app. So I knew that third party plugin could be found in their code. So that's when I went to break down their code. And I found the name of a company there.
So what Kiandria did when she was trying to stop this woman from getting payment was first to identify who the payment processor was. That was Stripe. So her whole goal was to really try to get a coordinated effort from the public to call Stripe out for what they were doing, for following through on processing these payments for this woman that was really fueling hate speech.
So this old girl, whatever her name is, does she still get this money?
As far as we know, she has gotten payouts, but again, no one has confirmed any of that. So
interesting.
Okay, y'all, so it's time to take a break. But when we come back, we'll hear more about this new movement that's playing out online and how that's changing the way activists fight back against systemic racism.
And we're back with Kiandria Demone, the internet troll for good. Kiandria, some people were suggesting that the approach you were taking was not very effective. What do you say to those people?
The thing about this protest or this movement, it is the first of its kind. And that is significant. It is important because it wasn't just about the money. It was about pulling off that mask, because there are a lot of these companies that are profiting from harm. Honestly, it was to expose the real bad guy. And we did that. And what's more important as far as it being effective is that I gave you a blueprint.
Right.
You have a blueprint because there's just going to be another person. Now you know what to do.
Right.
You know who to go after. You know who the real bad guys are.
Yeah. You've said both in your social media and you also said here that you don't take to protesting in the streets. And talk about why you made that choice and what social media activism offers that going out in the street protesting does not.
There's just a lot of dialogue on social media right now about who's protesting and who is not. And one of the things I believe in that I thought everybody was fighting for was autonomy. And I believe people have a right to their autonomy across the board. So we have a right to make our choices with what we do with our bodies. And if I choose not to put my body on the front lines, that is my choice. So you cannot claim that you are fighting for rights and you are fighting for autonomy, whether it's women's rights, whether it's civil rights. You can't claim you're fighting for that and try to strip me of mine. And what's more is I'm a Black woman. I know who I am in this society. I am a Black woman, and I'm not doing that. I know that the minute Black people are involved, it gets violent. It escalates, and I just don't want to do that. And what's not for nothing, I like a lot of people. I have the spirit of a giant, but I am an itty bitty little thing. I'm not built for that kind of fight.
It surprised me because I did not. When she came walking up, I was like, "Oh,
I'm so small. I'm 5'3", 125 pounds." Yeah, no, I'm not built. I'm not a foot soldier at all. Like, I've seen what they're doing to white people. Imagine what they would do to me. The way they would dog walk me on those front lines. What is the point? Why would I do that? I'm not a foot soldier. And everybody has their strong suits. And I truly believe that that is why God made me so smart. He made me very smart. He made me charismatic. And one of the things I pointed out was that Black women cannot afford to be away from our households, even temporarily. We cannot afford to have some sort of court case. We cannot afford to be harmed in any way because our households will fall apart without us. And that was not a coincidence. That was done by design from years of this system and white supremacists ripping our men out of our households, ripping them, jailing them, killing them, and pumping drugs into our community. Black women have carried so much on our backs that a lot of us cannot afford to get out in the streets and fight like that because we're just holding together the stability that we have. Like me, I came from a family and I came from a place that was riddled with addiction, riddled with abuse and drugs and men. I have multiple family members, males, who are out of the household, people dead from gun violence. And that is a direct result of the system that we are in. And I have scraped and worked and broken my back to pull myself up out of that. I'm not throwing it away at a protest. And one arrest, my entire life would unravel.
Now, in terms of your social media activism, is Threads your primary platform? Yes. Okay, that's interesting because, Twitter was such a big thing during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement. And now, Twitter, which I refuse to call the other name, but, it's gone to a different name. Tell me about your experience about using your social media
she's holding it down on Threads.
See, I don't have Threads yet.
She's going to be the reason you convert.
Yeah, easily. I have one of the biggest voices on Threads, easily. And a lot of people get it confused because of a follower count. And I'm one of those people. I don't chase a follower count. And I also don't recommend that people put that much stock in a follower count, because I have like 97,000 followers, but I average 5 million views a week, 55 million in 30 days. That is a huge influence. 5 million a week is more than the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay? So that's significant influence.
Yeah. Wow.
I found a lot of engagement there.
Yeah, that's what Twitter used to be for me, but now it's become a whole different space now. But I may try Threads.
You should definitely give it a try.
For sure.
Yeah. Kiandria, I wanted to ask you about, as a mom, how do you feel you're able to protect both yourself and your child from this when people are coming after you?
You know, I'm getting death threats. It's sleepless nights. You know what I mean? It's very stressful. I'm having to take black cars and armed security to places because it had gotten that crazy. And the president of the NAACP chapter in Atlanta told me, he said, the work you are doing is not without cost. And he said, you know, a lot of those people sending you the death threats, the reality is, like, we don't take it lightly, but a lot of them are trolls. The way they like to hit black activists is actually legally. He said, you'll see the way they've done really any black activists of significance, but most recently the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, they like to tear down our character. They like to comb through our finances or accuse us of any sort of fraud or any sort of. So he told me to make sure you have all your finances in order. So that's one thing I did, make sure I had an accountant, and make sure that anything legal, make sure those ducks are in a row.
I really appreciate how you use your voice, because people think about protesting in the streets. They only think about picketing and carrying signs, but the work you're doing is innovative. I personally have never heard of this type of work, you know, digging through the finances and using your knowledge in coding. Talk about how you teach or educate people about the various ways you can serve your community and protect yourself.
So we are living in the digital age, and the bad guys have caught up to that. So that's one of the reasons I'm intentional about talking about, you know, combing through the finances, or what we can do from behind the scenes, digging through the code, going and leaving them a review, deleting their app, whatever that looks like. Not to criticize people who are protesting in the street, because that is effective in its own way. But a lot of the ways they are oppressing us, it's done digitally. They're just not doing it the same way they were in the 1950s and the 1960s. They're doing it. Our society primarily is run online. So I encourage people to start fighting back in the digital space as well. I think one of the things that is super important that I feel is effective in times like this is to stop engaging all of the purity politics, stop engaging nitpicking our leaders, stand firm on supporting them. They're humans. You're not going to agree with everything, but jumping on the hate train does nothing but strengthen our enemy.
Because it really just turns into a distraction. We pivoted the conversation because we're nitpicking at a word instead of zooming out on the actual message.
Absolutely. A lot of the issues going on right now, I firmly believe they don't have to the other side doesn't have to do a lot of work to tear us down, because it's happening internally. And it's so important to stop that, whether it's in the fight for racism, whether it's in politics, because I'll be completely honest, I've been kind of dipping my toe into politics and, you know, connecting with some Georgia Democrats in my area. And I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of nitpicking. I've seen a lot of infighting. And I'm like, well, this is why. This is a lot of the reason why we are where we are, because they don't have to tear us down. We're doing it ourselves. It's chaos.
Well, outside of maybe dipping your toes into the politics realm, like, how are some other ways you want to continue to grow, like, your platform and your voice?
So what I want to continue to do is to, for one, pour some sense into our society. I don't know a better way to say it, but there's just a lot of chaos going on. And one of the things that I do is I'll say the quiet part out loud. Usually what I say, everybody has been thinking it. So I want to continue to do that. But I honestly feel like with politics, I don't know what it'll look like in the future, but I feel like I'm having a great influence where I am. So I don't know that it'll make sense to shrink myself and mold myself into this perfect little politician when I can just be the unhinged Kiandria online.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as long as I'm doing it for a good cause, I have the potential to reach more people by just being who I am outside of politics.
Right.
We have one last question for you. Please tell us, how are you so ATL?
Are you from Alabama originally?
I'm from Alabama.
What part
I'm
of
from
it?
Huntsville, Alabama. Well, actually, I'm from New Market, Alabama. It's outside of Huntsville. You wouldn't even know where it's at.
No.
The metro area is Huntsville.
Got it. So how long have you been living in? You live in Marietta?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Since 2017.
Okay. Well, do you feel like an ATL?
If you can't answer that, you don't have to. It's just a question.
Yeah, I would be lying if I said I was.
That's fine.
Now, what I can say that I like about ATL and the reason I came here is the way people are so unapologetically Black here. And I align with that. And I feel right at home with that. So even though I won't, because I know, ATL people, they don't play about their culture and they don't play about being from ATL. Apparently, you can't even be from Gwinnett and claim you. So I'm not going to sit up here and say I'm so ATL because I'm not. I moved here. I'm a transplant. But I do align with the way they are unapologetically Black. And one of the things that I saw here for the first time was Black wealth and Black excellence. This city embodies Black excellence in a way that I couldn't even explain. You just have to come see it. Like when I first visited here, I was with my son and I saw a Black man driving a Lamborghini. I ain't never seen a Lamborghini in my life, let alone a Black man driving one. And that's something that I really admire. And that's something that I've always aspired to be. Not the Lambo driving Black man, but just Black excellence overall. And I see a lot of that here. And here it is really attainable. That's what I love about ATL.
I suspect this won't be the last that we hear from you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
Okay, so we want to hear your take. What are some of the ways you practice activism other than protesting in the streets? Use your phone's voice recorder to send us a response on Instagram at @It'sUATL or email us at uatl@ajc.com. And don't forget to add your name, your age, and where you're from.
Thanks so much for listening to It's UATL.
UATL is a source for Black culture and community in Atlanta. It's powered by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and our supporters. If you're enjoying this podcast, join us as a UATL paid supporter at uatl.com.
And if you like the episode, please follow us and leave us a rating and a review. It really helps. See you next week.